Cracking the Scams of America's Debt. Introduction. U.S. debt has been rising, with no end in sight. In terms of net GDP, USA is de facto poorer than many developing countries. How has USA become so miserable? The growing monster. If the U.S. government always maintains a balanced budget, its debt is zero. 1 year, however, it took the advice of an economist to practice deficit budgeting. To cover the deficit, it borrowed $100 from the Fed. In year 2, given the same income and expense, debt rose to $210. Because G needed $110 to repay the old debt with interest, say 10% interest rate, and another $100 to cover the new deficit. In year 3, given the same deficit, debt rose to $331. Because G needed $231 to repay the old debt, with interest, and another $100 to cover another new deficit. By deduction, in year N, debt rises to Dn. Because G needs Dn minus 1 plus A to repay the old debt, with interest, and another $100 to cover another new deficit. When the deficit swells in the course of time, so does the debt. When interest itself necessitates more debt, they form a vicious cycle. Is there a way to crack this monstrous mathematics and this vicious cycle? Year 2 reconsider. In year 2, G borrowed $210, of which $110 was used to repay the previous debt with interest. Out of the $110, the Fed remitted $10 to G, for some mysterious reason. Hence, G's income increased to $110. Evidence. This is the proof of the Fed's remittance to G. The mysterious reason. Why did the Fed remit the $10 interest payment to G? Because it did not own the original $100 money. Without its ownership, the Fed should also remit that $100 money to G. Then, G's income would increase further to $210. However, G should return the whole $110 to the Fed. Income would drop back to the original $100. But due to the payback, last year's debt and interest should no longer exist. This is the P&L account after the remittance and return. As such, the Fed could as well write off last year's debt. The correct Fed. Through the same remit-return operation, G's debt remains at 100 every year. No more vicious cycle. Yes, this is magical. Its repeated deficit does not increase G's debt. The fact is, the Fed is not a commercial bank. This mathematics only applies to borrowing from a commercial bank. In retrospect, the Fed's using this equation to extort money is a scam. The bigger scam. In a country with a Fed, borrowing from other lenders is devastatingly foolish. Conclusion. This video should be helpful to any other, debt-ridden country.